Are you kidding me?
Can I kick it?
Step back and kiss myself.
Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Can I kick it?
All right, welcome into the basketball show. I'm Logan Mantz alongside Dirk Andrews, just joining us. As always, Matt Dick, and he started our first podcast, Zach Mitchell.
Triumphant return.
For the March Madness, we're switching it up and doing college basketball here today. And starting here with the South region as the most notable, Virginia being the number 1 seed. Does anyone have faith in UMBC? Because I don't think anyone does.
I don't think the 16 is going to defeat the 1 seed in this situation here. I honestly have Virginia as the favorite in this region right here.
Even with the sixth man getting hurt.
Even with the 6th man hurt, I still feel like they have a pretty good core. And their coaching is there as well. And they've been good in recent years. Now they're going to put it all together, I feel like.
I remember his Hunter. What was his first name?
We need Matt. You gonna look that up for us? Right. Yeah, he was ACC Sixth Man of the Year for a team that lost 2 games the entire year. Although they should have lost to Louisville. When Louisville was up 5 with 20 seconds left, and they somehow lose. All right, you should have lost that one. But no, I like Virginia. The problem is there are 2 teams in this region that had they played the way they finished the entire year, they would also be 1 seeds, and that's Kentucky and that's Arizona.
True.
So to be honest, I think Arizona is kind of the popular. I don't know if you call it an upset if you have the number 1 overall pick in the draft and DeAndre Ayton, but the popular. We're gonna beat this team could beat Virginia. I think a lot of people are kind of anticipating that being a possibility, but man. They got to get past some good teams, but Arizona would be that's a tough 4 seed for especially the number 1 overall 1 seed.
I was just going to comment, because you have the number 2 seed Cincinnati, number 3 Tennessee. You're already going to go ahead and take Kentucky or Arizona over those 2 seeds, right? Because I would agree with you there.
Well, and I mean Kentucky just beat Tennessee in the SEC title game.
Sure. And
even we're talking about NBA talent, like Texas at the 10 has. Bomba's coming back, so Shaka Smart's had success in the tournament before. That's not a weak 10 seed, I would say. But I like Arizona. I like Arizona and Kentucky ceiling better than those other 2.
Well, what do you think about Arizona being in the Pac-12? Pac-12 being quite down because
USC you're not wrong.
USC made it to the Pac-12 championship and they didn't make the tournament. The only other one was UCLA, and they got bounced by St. Bonaventure.
Yeah, Matt and I were just talking about that. There were 3 Pac-12 teams in the tournament, and one's out. They lost last night when we taped this on a Wednesday. It was UCLA losing to St. Bonaventure, and then Arizona State plays Syracuse in another playing game today. So you're right. Arizona's a 4 seed, and if they'd been in another conference, they might have been a 10 seed just because of all the games they would have lost to better teams. I don't know. The run they made in the Pac-12 tournament. Dirk, did you watch any of that?
Yes, I did, and I want to go back to a point you made about talent level, NBA talent level. Arizona has it. Arizona State might not have it. The other Pac-12 teams might not have it. And as a KU fan, I remember back to last year in Oregon, everybody thinking, Pac-12, they won't do anything. Yep. So come game day, you just never know. But I do think that is a really good point, Logan. I think the 10-7 matchup is very intriguing here. Nevada versus Texas. We're Big 12 people. We've watched Texas all year long. They've played great down the stretch, so I think they could probably pull that one off there, that upset off.
Yeah, and Nevada's came close to beating 2 Big 12 teams. They lost close to TCU and Texas Tech.
Okay.
So they can hang with the Big 12. They have the 10th adjusted offense in the NCAA, and they rarely commit turnovers. And they have 2 really good guards. Can't think of their names right now, but Nevada, they're not a bad 7 seed. And Texas, they've played pretty bad down the stretch.
They are real hit or miss. Yeah. And they can't shoot threes. And without Bomba at 100%, they really don't have a lot going on, really. I mean, and they're not a team that got a lot better throughout the year. But when you just look at lottery picks in this conference, and just even overall just NBA talent, Kentucky's going to have a few. Ayton at number 1, Bomba will be a top 5. And then, of course, you have the number one team in Virginia who doesn't even have an NBA guy on the roster, maybe, but they're such a stacked team. Like, the South has got something going on. And we haven't even talked about your boys from K-State.
Yeah, I pick them up every year and they lose.
What about last year? Did you have them over Wake Forest in the play-in?
I had them over Cincinnati.
Oh, nice. Well.
Yeah, that was a bad pick. But I'm actually picking Creighton. But I like K-State. I think they're a better team. Mm-hmm. It just matters what type of Creighton team we're going to face and if we're going to get a healthy Kansas State team because we don't know where Dean Wade's at.
Very true.
I actually read an article. I cannot remember who wrote it, but the point was the thing that gives Virginia trouble are bigger guys that can stretch the floor. And now with the loss of their sixth man and then if Dean Wade and the Cats are healthy, not saying K-State's going to win that thing, but if they could get past Creighton, that they have a recipe. And also they've hung with really good teams. I don't know if K-State has a good win of like a top 10.
Yeah, they're
I don't think they're
pretty due for a win.
Yeah, so they've hung with everybody, but they haven't beaten a KU or West Virginia in conference, things like that. But they've not had any bad losses either.
I think it's just if K-State can score a lot of points. Creighton gave up 89 points in the month of February. I mean, that's a lot of points. K-State's got to score the ball, and they're a pretty good defensive team, have some low post scoring. Creighton has no one underneath to stop them. They really got Kyrie Thomas and Marcus Foster, and that's really...
It'll be a fun game.
Yeah,
it's going to be a good 8-9 game. And I do want to mention, and Dirk, you've been at CCC for how long?
6 years.
6 years. So this is your 6th year. Loyola Chicago is in the South, and CCC has sent some basketball players to Loyola Chicago. A guy named Earl, I can't remember his last name, but he played here like 3 or 4 years ago, right when you had been getting started.
Oh, sure, yes.
And then there was a big guy on that Ravens team as well, a post player about 6'8", 6'9". Can't remember his name, but CCC has sent some guys to Loyola Chicago, and they're the 11 versus Miami. That's just kind of a cool thing for us in Southeast Kansas.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I want to go ahead and give my support to Chicago, but I can't right there. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Miami. And for me, you're going to hear this reign true for me all through this podcast, but I'm a Big 12 guy, but I think ACC is the strongest tournament or strongest conference in the tournament.
Especially
so
at the top.
I'm going to go with Miami right there. But that is cool. We have some CCC guys out there. It's always fun to watch them, see where they go.
Yeah.
Take some pride in that.
They're the Missouri Valley champion, that conference has taken a huge hit recently.
Yeah, the one thing about Loyola Chicago is I really don't like the conference, but I do like the things they do. They slow down the tempo a lot, and that's what you got to do if you're going to cause an upset. You shoot the ball good. They shoot 50% from the field, and your top 25 team in the just defense. So those are three good stats to pull off upset. And Miami lost their point guard. I don't know. He might return Bruce Brown.
He's been out for a while.
Yeah, he's a really good guard.
Yeah, he was on a lot of NBA boards and everything.
That'll be big.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really a region in flux because I think a lot of people predicted Virginia was just going to wipe through the tournament, and they're not deep anyways. And now their top tier talent levels isn't there. And then which Arizona team is going to show up? Is it going to be the team that was in the PK 80 where they lost 3 straight games, or is it going to be the guy? It's going to be Ayton, the number 1 overall pick. I don't know. Who do you guys think is going to come out of the South region?
I'm going to go with Arizona. Actually, I think they're going to want to make a statement. They've had some program troubles recently. The way to make up for that is out on the court. I think they'll go ahead and get it done.
Yeah, I'm with Dirk on Team Arizona on this one. What about you guys?
I like Cincinnati.
The 2 seed.
We hadn't even talked about them yet. I like that.
Yeah, they're tough.
They pretty much do everything well. They're hard to score against. They're hard to get in the paint. And they really do score. They really do both things of the ball. The only thing is them going against Arizona, I got them in the Elite 8. They just have to out-scrap them, which I think they're really a scrappy team.
I agree with you there. Cincinnati's always a scrappy team.
It'd be a good game. What about you, Matt?
And I'm going to go with you guys, Arizona. I love DeAndre Ayton, what he brings to the game. Definitely a great person to build this young team around. And he's young, of course, too, only a freshman. But he has broken records in his first year as a Wildcat. He's done a lot of stuff for them. And I'm going to hop back to K-State. I have them going past the first round just because I believe in this team enough. I feel like they just haven't made their break yet. And I feel like if they can get over that hump, they can do a lot in this tournament. But Arizona definitely, I feel like, can win this region pretty easily.
So it looks like 3 Zona, 1 Cincinnati, which we got 3 Wildcats and 1 Bearcats. So we're still on Team Cat
Either
here.
way.
It's not too bad. So that is our official, I guess, the basketball show. We broke down the South region. So what do we got next?
Let's go to the West,
Head west, young man.
which I think has the lesser 1 seed in this region, Xavier.
I agree, Logan.
They do have some NBA talent on their team.
Yep.
But I just don't see him getting past the Sweet 16. I think you have a better Gonzaga team, but someone prove me wrong.
I totally agree. I have them losing to Gonzaga in the Sweet 16. Just because I feel like in the past, Xavier's had much better teams. And I feel like Gonzaga is going to come back hungry to try to go back past the Final Four this time.
You know, I don't think they'll have trouble getting through that first game, 1-16 matchup. But, hey, the 8-9 potential matchup could be tough for them. Missouri or Florida State, it's going to be tough for them to get to the round of 16. Gonzaga, it's just hard for me to put any faith into them based off of what they've done in previous years. So I can't really put too much faith in Gonzaga.
Yeah, going back to the 8 and 9, that's really hard to pick. Those are 2 evils. Like,
You're right.
You go against Missouri, that's really bad. At the end of their season, they lost to LSU, Georgia. Can't think of the third team.
Well, then they lost in the first round of the SEC tournament with Michael Porter coming back and shooting 17 times. Nobody else on that team shot more than 9. So it's like that team doesn't even really exist anymore because what the heck are they doing?
That's a good point.
But
It's a
then-
totally different team.
But then you have Florida State, which had their best team probably in the history of the program last year and lost in the second round. What's the coach for
Hamilton?
Florida State? I think, Hamilton.
Yeah.
He's just not a good tournament coach.
He's a good recruiter. They're never bad. And then they get to the tournament, and it's like you have to be able to make X and Y decisions off the top of your head immediately and then get your guys to play good all the time. And that doesn't happen, and that's why they're a 9 seed, and nobody knows what to do with them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they should be favored, actually, against this Missouri team. The only reason I think Missouri got an 8 is because Michael Porter was played in that first game in the SEC tournament. But yeah, Florida State, nobody knows what to do with them. It's just like they're always athletic. They're always tough defensively.
Yes.
It's like, what, I think Xavier wants to see Florida State.
Yeah.
Because if Missouri plays good enough to beat Florida State, that means Michael Porter Jr., a guy who was in the running for a number 1 overall pick, if he's playing good, that's somebody that Xavier, very few people in the nation can guard, really.
Yeah.
It's a really good point there.
And Mizzou's only got 7 scholarship players.
Yeah. 2 of them are
And-
Porters.
And then that one guy got a DWI,
That's right, one of the lead
Barnett.
guards, yeah.
and he was the leading
Which-
scorer and second rebounder.
And I think he's suspended for the first. I think he's
he's suspended for the first game,
yeah,
but he'll play the second game.
if they make it.
It's a big if.
But
Yeah,
Florida State's got a guy
Kudos
named...
to Missouri for suspending him, by the way.
True.
Yeah.
Not very many programs would suspend a guy in an 8-9 matchup. Like that. That's I don't. Obviously, there's pressure to do it from a discipline standard, but still, there's a lot of coaches out there, Rick Pitino, that wouldn't do that. So,
I like how you just threw that in there.
but it's not good. It's a basketball show.
I personally have Missouri winning, but I have Xavier winning over Missouri. And I feel like Michael Porter Jr., he's going to work a little bit harder until this game, and I feel like they can pull it off against Florida State just because I feel like he has something to prove. He just doesn't want to be that person like me and Zach talked about, Dante Exum, just sit out and be a high lottery pick. He wants to prove himself that he can win games for his team.
So back to a typical upset that people are picking, Ohio State versus South Dakota State.
Yeah.
And South Dakota State, a very good team.
The
They
Jackrabbits.
can shoot you out of the gym, and they got one guy, Mike Dom, 23 points. He's got that weird, funky shot, but it just goes in. And Ohio State has the NBA talent. Bates,
Yeah,
Diop.
and those two guys will be guarding each other a lot, which would be kind of cool. Or at least they'll be in situations maybe on switches and stuff where they'll be matched up against each other. I don't know if you usually don't want your 2 best scorers guarding each other, but the problem is if they win their first round game, which again I think Ohio State is the favorite to be upset by a 12. I think they're the most popular 5 to lose in the first. But even if they win and Gonzaga wins, I think they got trashed by Gonzaga earlier in the year.
Yeah.
So the Columbus faithful Columbia faith. No, it is Columbus. Oh yeah, they're not super thrilled about their chances going forward to get out of the first weekend.
Yeah, I think this is a real perfect opportunity to see an upset here. Like Logan said, they can really shoot well. I just don't really have a lot of faith in Ohio State right now.
Yeah.
And I got Michigan in my Final Four, but I almost believe that they'll get upset the first round.
So it's if they win, they're good.
Yeah.
But that's a huge if, right?
Yeah.
Do you see something in Montana, or do you just see that much lacking with the Michigan team?
Montana averages about 78 points per game, but Michigan, you're coming off a week of you're not playing at all, and you just came off your best basketball, and then you got to find some type of energy to come in and play Montana that scores a lot of points, really doesn't play much defense, but you're going to have to stay with them, and it's going to be tough, I think, just coming off that bye week.
Yeah, man, I think that's a really good point, actually. Who's it going to be? Where's it going to come from for this Michigan team? Yeah. And then just that bottom half overall, is anyone going to stop North Carolina?
No.
You know?
Well, Logan thinks Michigan can do it if they get past Montana, but North Carolina is they're the top 2 seed. And which is interesting that the ACC has the number 1 overall team and then the top number 2s, which speaks to the top heaviness of that conference. But in North Carolina and Duke, but I have Providence beating A&M.
Yeah,
same here.
A&M came in. I think they beat West Virginia at the beginning of the year without 2 of their guys. They just beat the doors off of them. Everybody's like, "Man, A&M's gonna be good."
Yeah.
And then they just took a nap the rest of the year. They're a 7 seed. A lot of people have Providence even beating them, and then North Carolina just wiping the floor with everybody till they get to the Elite 8 matchup. North Carolina is a team that is just a really good college team, and they took care of business. I know they lost to Virginia in the ACC title championship game, but they're really good.
When you have a senior point guard like that, I mean, that's like having a senior quarterback. So, yeah, I think they'll do very well.
Yeah.
But I think also Providence could be a dark horse in this team. The only thing is Coach Cooley's team does struggle in NCAA tournaments. They lost the play-in game last year, and then they lost with Chris Dunn, probably one of his best teams. But they got really good guards this year, and they took it to every Big East team and almost beat Villanova in the championship of the Big East.
Good point.
Yeah, they're like a seasoned team. Like they've seen some battles this year. That's why I think I think they beat A&M by double digits. I think Providence should win that game. I think A&M. It's just. I think it's that residual. They've got a guy, Robert Williams, supposed to go in the lottery. Like I think that.
I question if they even love basketball for Texas A&M at some point.
It's so disappointing.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
They're supposed to win the SEC, and it's just
and they really should have based off of their performance early in the year. And like you said, that game against West Virginia and took a nap. That's actually being very nice to them. I think just saying that. But hey, in the West, ultimately, I'm gonna go with North Carolina.
I also think North Carolina, Xavier doesn't guard as well, and North Carolina can score pretty well. And that would be 3 straight Final Fours for Roy?
Unfortunately, for a KU Jayhawk fan, yes.
Then I as a KU fan as well, as long as we beat them every time we play them, I really don't care. I kind of like North Carolina. So 3 straight Final Fours hasn't been done since UCLA, right?
Interesting.
With Ben Howland,
So I got Michigan, barring they get past Montana.
Right.
And I want to bring up Houston. I think they're also a dark horse with 2 really good guards.
Totally agree.
They played really well against Cincinnati in the finals.
With Rob Gray and Corey Davis as their 2 leading point guards. But I got Michigan, barring they get past Houston and Montana. And North Carolina. They got a tough road, but I think they're a tough team that's faced their battles too.
If they can get to play North Carolina, I think that's Sweet 16. That'd be an awesome game.
Yeah.
Michigan, North Carolina. That'd be a lot of fun.
That's what I have slotted down.
Yeah.
But I have North Carolina getting the edge just a little bit, just because, like you said, they're a seasoned team. I feel like their coach, like you said, has been there, done that, and he can take his team to wins, and that's the West.
Yep.
So we'll switch it over to the East, which I think the number one team, has the easiest road out of everyone, and I think that's Villanova.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really do think they have the easiest road.
Well, in this region, there's not a lot of, other than Colin Sexton, there's not a lot of top tier NBA guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Purdue was looking like they were going to blow the doors off of the nation earlier in the year, and then they lost, I think, 3 straight at one point. They didn't end very strongly either. And also, it's the same Purdue team from last year that KU killed, except they lost their best player. So that's kind of a weird, just looking at them, it's just kind of a weird thing. But they have good bigs, but it's Texas Tech ended weekly, and they're the 3 seed in that region. What do you guys think?
Totally agree with you, Logan, man. This is an easy road for Villanova. However, I feel like this is West Virginia's chance to make a mark on the national scene. Big 12 play, they're always there. They're always really good. Get to the tournament, flop out. Is Huggy Bear going to show up? Will West Virginia show up? Because if so, they could take this region, I feel like. Defeat Villanova, and from there, I think they could take it.
That's my favorite second round game potentially is West Virginia versus Wichita State.
Yes.
Another
I
good
think
one.
Wichita
Yes.
State beat Oklahoma State and they lost to Oklahoma, so they're 1-1 against Big 12 schools this year, and that's some great guard play. Landry Shamet versus Javon Carter and Dexter Miles, like that's awesome.
It's a chance for Carter too. He's been around for so long. He's a great player, but on the national scene.
Yeah,
What's he going to get?
I agree.
I don't think Wichita State will make it that far.
You think there's Marshall? That's a popular pick. That's I've heard that a lot. Marshall can get after it.
I love C.J. Burks and John Elmore.
Thundering Herd.
Yeah, and they lost Xavier by 3 points earlier in the season. They can really shoot the ball, as always. And I feel like this is a down year for Wichita State. I really think they're overseeded just because they moved conferences. I don't think this is their best team.
I would
Not
agree
their
with you
best
there.
defensive team.
They're actually kind of weak defensive. I mean, they're tough, but they don't shut people down.
And I think they're kind of mad that KU gets to go to Wichita and they have to go to San Diego.
Which normally people would rather
Going
go
on
to
a
San
vacation.
Diego.
yes.
Very few times is it, man, I wish I were in Wichita instead of San Diego.
So tell me this though: will Randy Moss be playing for the Marshall team?
It would be cool.
Yeah,
Well,
Randy
actually ball.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
No,
saying.
but I think there'll be 2 West Virginia teams playing against each other, Marshall and West Virginia.
Interesting.
That would be, and that would also be a fun match.
Yeah.
There are fun matchups in this region, but I agree. And I don't want to tip my hand too far, but Villanova just, they're tough.
Yeah.
And they've got 2 NBA guys, they got a good coach, and they got a really good roster.
And they've been there recently.
They've been there.
you know?
The only thing I have Villanova going to the Final Four, but preparing for West Virginia when you're stuck in the Big East and you're Villanova and you got to prepare one day to go against Bob Huggins' press.
Good point.
Well, and West Virginia's never had a guy like Konate before. I mean, they've had big guys, but they never had a shot blocker like he does. So, and I agree. Now, the only thing is they wouldn't play him until the Sweet 16, which means you had a whole week to prepare versus a turnaround. If it were playing him in the second weekend or the Elite Eight, that's much tougher. But playing him with at least really like 4 days to prepare, figuring out that system's tough anyways. Sure. But it's just a better way. That's why people are thinking if it's a West Virginia Wichita State matchup, West Virginia is the favorite in that, just because Wichita State wouldn't have very much time to get ready for it.
And slotted, as we said, Purdue being a week or 2 seed, I have Butler, led by Keelan Martin, taking down the Boilermakers.
And Arkansas has been kind of a popular pick to beat Purdue.
Yeah,
you have Butler beating Arkansas. That's
they got a pretty good front court.
Yep.
For me, I like Arkansas a lot just because I feel like they're one of the most underrated teams in this whole tournament. As a whole, I feel like when they get hot, they're hard to stop. And yeah, I have them beating Butler, but I have Arkansas and Purdue, and then Purdue winning that. But yeah, I just feel like they could beat Butler. I just feel like they're a stronger team.
Can Texas Tech do anything? No, I mean, really,
Yeah.
do you think they will do anything at all? Because they're going to get their main guy back, correct?
Yeah.
He's been back, but with a little bit more rest.
Mm-hmm.
They're the number 3 seed. Florida might be tricky for them, but which Florida will we see, you know?
Yeah.
Texas Tech could make some noise, I feel like, the bottom half of the East bracket.
Yeah, Stephen F. Austin does a good job getting you out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
They do a lot. They get a lot of turnovers, but I just feel like Texas Tech with Keenan Evans, I feel like he's just a monster. Might just carry him on.
Exactly.
But Stephen F. Austin really does have a chance.
Now, isn't Stephen F. Austin, they run the same kind of press style that West Virginia does, I think. And Tech's seen it 3 times already. Now, obviously different personnel, so everybody, you can't replicate it perfectly.
Sure.
But if Evans is healthy, and if he's not, I think that Stephen F. Austin team is very popular to win. I think a lot of people have them, especially people on the East and West Coast who haven't seen Tech play. They're very, it's a popular pick to say Tech's going to go down. It's Texas Tech. Their reputation is not of a 3 seed.
Sure.
But if Tech's healthy, the way they guard, they got some good athletes.
Yes.
And a good coach in Chris Beard, a good young up-and-coming coach. Well, he's not really young, but I mean, he's really, these last 2 years, he really made a name for himself. And that's a team that, again, we talked about kind of Purdue not being awesome, Arkansas maybe having trouble with Butler or vice versa. It could be Tech in the Elite 8. And we all think Nova is pretty solid there, but once you get to the Elite 8, who cares? You know, anything can happen.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, I don't know. I still think Nova comes out of this this
No,
region.
yeah.
But, I'm rooting for Tech. As a Big 12 guy, I'm rooting for Tech. I like Chris Beard, and I like Chris Evans.
I'm the same way, kind of rooting for Tech, but figuring for Villanova to come out.
Yeah, I got Villanova having to face 2 Big 12 teams, but coming out up for the East.
And we're all in agreement this time. Villanova, I feel like, definitely will
It's
win.
the synergy of this Coffeyville campus.
Yeah.
See if we jinx them or not.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
So, moving to the last but not least bracket, the Midwest. Got Kansas, the number 1 seed, facing a Pennsylvania team who they think should be a 15 seed. I think the game is set at 11-point favorite from Kansas, and I
As
believe
it dropped to 11, it was 15.5 when it opened. I saw it was at 14 the other day. If it's down to 11, that would be crazy.
I think it might have been 13. I might have lied.
But still, it's the
lowest.
It's the lowest.
Yeah.
I know. I think 538 gave Penn a 7.8% chance of winning. Which, by the way, if that's your odds, I wouldn't go gambling all the time with that. But that's the highest chance they've ever given a 16 seed ever. So that's kind of, and they're going off of matchups. What Penn does versus KU. I mean, Dirk, you're the resident KU fan here on campus and in town. So what do you think?
I'm a resident, KU fan all over the place. That's why I feel like I should pull a Jeff Sessions right here and go ahead and recuse myself from this investigation. I have too much. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, I don't care what anybody says. I think KU takes this game. Penn gives them some trouble at the beginning, but we have stars, and hopefully we have a healthy Udoka back with the progression of Souza during the Big 12 tournament. Hey, don't forget about Mitch Lightfoot. We have scores. If one person gets cold, we have 5 other people that can pick up the slack. But I'm thinking Penn's going to give us a tough challenge. But I don't think they upset us overall.
And you can't forget about Graham either. He's a great player.
He's a Player of the Year finalist.
Yeah, exactly.
For KU, I thought they were going to get a 2 or a 3 as late as like 2 weeks ago, just because this is a flawed KU team. Again, we talked about NBA talent in this region. There's a ton of it, just not on KU's roster. They actually have the 3rd best from Vegas odds to get out of the region behind Duke and Michigan State, and they're barely better than Auburn, which is barely better than Clemson. So they're right in the middle. They're not even favorites as a 1 seed. And now for those, KU will. I think KU will struggle with Penn. However, and I was telling Matt this earlier, they had practice today in the gym at Wichita, which again is in Kansas, for those you don't know, so it will be a favorable home crowd. There were almost 14,000 people at their open practice today. So that gym tomorrow at about 1 o'clock Central Time,
Yes, sir.
is going to be heavy for the Hawks. And Penn is in the Ivy League, right?
Yeah.
Don't think they see those type of crowds.
Probably not.
So if KU can get out and get a jump on them, But then we're going to be
Yeah.
like, can you believe we talked about a 16 seed getting 1? But I think this is a very good 16 seed.
I think they're gonna have some trouble in their second round game. I know I'm probably gonna get killed.
No,
here.
no. I
If
agree.
they
I
don't-
agree.
I think if they don't get Azubuike back, I think they're gonna have a trouble with Seton Hall.
Yeah.
Maybe NC State. I think they'd match up better with NC State. I don't think NC State's that good, but Seton Hall, I think they're good with. I like their forward, Delgado. He can rough them up a little bit, but they might have some trouble in that second round.
Well, Seton Hall crashes the boards, which is what KU doesn't do well. And NC State's got really good athletes, which can kind of swarm around and take away a little bit of KU's advantage. So if without Udoka Azubuike, which there's like 5 guys in the entire country that can do what he does, without him, this KU team really isn't a 1 seed. They're more like a 3 or a 4 without him.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think we really. I mean, we deserved a 1 seed because we earned it through our wins. However, I think Duke and Michigan are better than us. NC State, I think, could be a real challenge for us, but it's almost like you're Montana or Michigan or bust, Logan Mantz. I think if we get through the first 2 weekends, we're going to be rolling on some momentum. New Mexico State, guys.
I love
I
them.
like that matchup right there.
Yeah.
I think they can get it.
I will say, though, Sim Bular is not walking through that door. Just a throwback. It was one of the biggest college basketball players of all time. 7'5", I think 380. And a little
He couldn't walk through the door anyway.
No, that's right. That's why he can't come through the door. They're going to carve him a new door. But I do like New Mexico State, though.
That 12-5
But,
matchup.
I like that. But I love New Mexico State. They're 0-10 in NCAA tournament games.
Oh,
Which is
no.
a problem, historically.
So the 11th time is the charm.
Sure.
and
But-
Clemson, as one of their guys got hurt late in the year, so it's not.
Yeah.
That's a flawed Clemson team.
But I love Zach Lofton. He's kind of a journeyman of NCAA.
Yeah.
But he's the leading scorer. I love Jonathan Wilkins. He's like one of the top rebounders, I think, in the nation. It could be just for the conference, but I think
That translates across
yeah,
the nation, anyways.
They're a really good team. You got to pick a 5 over a 12. And I got 2. I got South Dakota State and New Mexico State winning.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Didn't it happen about once a year, on average?
Once
Is it
a year.
12? Yeah,
Yes.
it's about once a year. So New Mexico State's definitely, and they have a program that's been to a lot of tournaments recently.
Yes.
They just haven't had success, as Logan said. But they're not scared of anybody.
They beat Miami earlier in the season. They beat Davidson. And they lost to USC by 5. And they beat Illinois.
Yeah.
So they've battle tested in these major programs.
Yeah, quality tested.
And another matchup that is supposed to be a good one for a lower seed to beat a higher seed is actually Iona and Duke. They actually have the most votes for losing, so that's a big. That's kind of
Interesting.
crazy to think about Duke losing to a
I
15
think that's
seed.
just because Duke's lost to 15s before.
And that's what I agree. I think this Duke team is good with Marvin Bagley. I think I have them going against Kansas in the Elite 8. That's what I have.
I over under of Bagley, 33 points in the first round.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah,
gonna
exact
crush
or
those guys.
over. You could probably tie one hand behind his back. He'd
But-
still probably go ahead and get you 15 and
But
7.
I do like either team that wins between Rhode Island and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That matchup against Duke second round. I think either of those teams makes it a fun game. I don't think either team beats Duke, but I
No.
think both of those teams it's going to be a good game to
Yeah.
watch.
That matchup right there, though, Rhode Island and Oklahoma. I mean,
Yeah.
especially where we live, it's a big one. I've heard a lot of good things about Rhode Island. I've seen the worst of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think there, guys.
And a lot of people are upset because Oklahoma State didn't make it. But I feel like if we see the Trae Young we saw at the beginning of the year, they can win this game.
Yes.
And I feel like they could also do some damage the rest of the way. Maybe make it interesting, like you said, against Duke. But it's definitely going to be a hard road for Oklahoma.
Well,
Sure,
and Matt, you're our resident Oklahoma fan
Yeah.
here in the podcast suite. So, how many games does Oklahoma need to win for you to be like, okay, it was an okay year, it was a good year? Do they even need to win one, or if it's like, hey man, we had a
Well,
first team All America?
I mean, for basketball, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, football, of course, you would love to see them go, and they went deep this year, of course, losing to Georgia, which is upsetting. But basketball, it's not that big of a deal. Blake Griffin, probably going to be the best draft from Oklahoma, in my opinion. Buddy Hield, they did okay when they had him, but overall, this year wasn't. They started off amazing, but
nobody cares.
Yeah, no one. It's great to see because he is a resident Oklahoma himself. He went to Edmond North.
Good point.
He's from Norman.
Yeah, he's from Norman North. Excuse me. He went to Norman North and scored 42 points a game in high school, and now he's leading this NCAA in scoring. So
and in assists.
Yeah,
right?
and
he's still
assists.
number one in
Yeah.
assists, I think.
So that's crazy to think about.
I think the film is out on Oklahoma, and a lot of teams know what their tendencies are.
Yeah.
And Rhode Island's got a killer point guard,
Yep.
E.C. Matthews, 6'5".
And he is going to want to take it to Trae Young because
Yeah.
that puts him on draft radars. I mean, he's
Yeah.
already on the boards anyways, but he kills Trae Young. That boosts his draft stock.
Well, and for me, it's everybody else but Trae Young. I mean, where's Kandeem Latin at? Where's Jamoni McGee at? You know, they have a really good coach, too, in Lon Kruger. So who else is going to show up for Oklahoma? That's my question. Maybe nobody.
Maybe no.
That's true,
We've
that's
seen
true.
nobody.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this Michigan State team, it's really hard to, understand that this team, they get beat by Michigan in the Big Ten tournament,
Yep.
but all year you've heard how good they are. All of a sudden they're knocked down to a 3 seed, but does that bother you? Does that worry you any?
They have two guys that are going to be picked in the top 9 in the draft, which is
Yeah.
nice. They have a Hall of Fame coach, which is also nice. This is either the most or top 3 most talented Michigan State team of all time. Obviously the Magic Johnson year is probably number 1, but I mean they're right up there.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think they're 1-3 against top quadrant 1 teams though. They just struggle. Obviously in the Big Ten you're not seeing a lot of top teams, so they just they lose to Michigan in the tournament. They lost to Duke earlier in the year, and they might play them in the Sweet 16, which, by the way, would be one of the top Sweet 16 games of all time, right? I mean,
Yes.
just the amount of talent, the pedigree of those programs.
And that's actually what I have slotted down.
I as well. To me, as a KU fan, I think I'd rather see Duke because they play zone and they don't guard anybody versus Michigan State, which Miles Bridges would just beat us up. I mean, he wants to fight, and he wants to. And I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be successful both in this tournament and at the next level in the NBA.
Well, you have the Arizona factor as well with Michigan State. A lot of controversy surrounding the program.
That's right,
They're
yeah.
going to want to make a point out on the court, so watch out for them.
And that's a great point back to Arizona, how they dealt with the controversy. Same with DeAndre Ayton saying he's getting paid to come there. Same way with Michigan State. They could prove something, say, hey, let's just go win this thing. They could see Arizona in the final game. I mean, just
That'd be interesting.
2 programs having a lot of controversy at the end of the year and trying to prove something.
That'd be
NCAA would love that,
Yeah.
wouldn't they? Yeah.
It would be a good game. There's
Yeah.
a lot of good games. We've hit a lot of them. We knew this was going to be a really fun tournament coming in to the year, not even to this tournament. And there's a lot of awesome matchups in this.
And you got to watch out for the College of Charleston. They got a point guard who you'll probably learn after they play, Joe Cooley,
Yeah.
I think his name. Really good point guard.
Yeah.
Score at a high rates, and they're going to take it after and really match up with the Auburn team that's kind of not
Floundering.
Yeah, and they don't really have the size. They have really good point guard Bryce Brown, but they don't really have the size inside
They
to battle.
Auburn won the SEC regular season title, I think, right? They were the number 1 team. And they kind of did it in a year when there were no great SEC teams because Kentucky got hot in the tournament but didn't figure it out during the regular season. Tennessee overachieved. A&M underachieved. Missouri, Porter got hurt. So it's one of those things of Auburn kind of was like, hey, man, Auburn's awesome. And then they lose. I think they also had a guy get hurt at the end of the year. And then they got the doors blown off of them by Colin Sexton and his crew in Alabama. So, yeah, as a 4 seed, I mean, still top really talented. But, yeah, College of Charleston's got there's definitely a chance.
Yeah.
Definitely a chance.
And we'll go over this and then we'll pick our Midwest. But there's always been a team that come out of the playing games to win a matchup. I think it's been like the last 4 out of years that playing game has won. So we had St. Bonaventure win last night. They'll go against Florida. And tonight's matchup, Arizona State, Syracuse, facing off of Big 12 TCU.
Yeah, if you're going off of name recognition alone, I think you just go ahead and go with either Syracuse or Arizona State getting some wins
Right.
going forward. And that's what I'm going to go with, actually. Unfortunately, I was at the KU game where they lost to Arizona State, so I know how good they can be.
They just haven't been.
Exactly. And if they find that, yeah, they could put together a couple wins. Now, Syracuse has the pedigree, not the talent. And I think when you have that, you could put together a couple wins as well. So I'm going to go with either one of those teams.
Yeah, the funky zone that Syracuse plays, you'd think is like, okay, that's got to be worth one win in the tournament.
Yes.
Arizona State, the Pac-12 can't just have they've only had 3 teams in the tournament, and they can't lose. I just can't imagine them losing. They can't have one team going in after the playing game.
But can they?
They're a real. It's a real league. Like,
Yeah,
what's your problem, Pac-12? So,
That's true.
I don't know. It would be interesting if Arizona won the title and they were the only Pac-12 team to even be existing in the.
Yeah.
That would
Well,
be
and
nuts.
Arizona State's got Bobby Hurley as their coach. I mean,
Yeah.
for us older fellers, we know who
I
he
think
is. He's
it-
proven.
right. I think if
As a
Arizona
player,
State,
but
I
getting
think-
himself as a
I think
coach.
Arizona State beats TCU, but I think TCU beats Syracuse.
I think Syracuse wins this play-in matchup. I actually think they've had one of the best zone defenses they've had in like a lot of the years.
Interesting.
They just can't score the ball.
They don't have the top. They don't have top tier talent, but they have to make up for it
Yeah.
on the other end. That's a good point.
Yes.
But I like St. Bonaventure. Those 2 guards last night, they're pretty good.
And
Yes.
UCLA has good guards, not Lonzo Ball level anymore,
Yeah.
but the, Holiday and Hands off the bench, and Bonaventure took it to him.
Yeah.
Do you think UCLA would have been different with LiAngelo Ball?
It's really hard to
No.
say. I
Let's
was
not get into that.
I was thinking that the whole time last night, but
I mean-
I agree with Logan. Let's not get into it because then we'll have LeVar Ball
That's true.
calling the show.
Which is impressive.
to want to talk to
We don't have
We
that
would-
capability.
But no, yeah,
he finds a way.
I don't think it would
If
make a
he-
difference.
If he commented, I feel like our channel would blow up a little bit. No, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
He found a
you would be incorrect. We'll talk about that in video principles
But
next
maybe
year.
it's addition by subtraction. Maybe not having him on the team less distraction.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
Of course,
true.
you want the talent, but
Yeah.
He found a way to get on house arrest in China. He can find a way to call into the basketball show.
Not wrong.
that's great. That's great.
But who do we got from the Midwest? And we'll close it up.
Come on, Dirk. Who you got?
I'm gonna go with Duke out of the Midwest. It
KU
hurts me. I
fan.
know it
Come
really does
on,
hurt me
man.
to say, but I just Marvin Bagley, Duval, and
Mm-hmm.
Coach K. Yeah, they'll get to the Final Four.
I think I want KU to win. It's one of those, if they get to the Elite Eight, I think we have as good a chance to get into the Final Four as any team in the nation if we match up like that. But I think I actually had Michigan State getting in just because they're just tough. Like, they'll just beat you up. And the matchups, I think they could take it back to Duke because they lost earlier in the year, and then they match up really well against the Hawks.
I am going to go with Dirk on this one, Duke. I feel like he said, Coach K, you got a top-tier talent, and Marvin Bagley's probably going to go number 2 in the draft. And then even though he's a hothead, he can still shoot Grayson Allen. So if Coach K can, harness everyone together, they can make a run.
I think this is the easiest road to the Final Four for Kansas they've had in quite a while. What do you guys think about that?
So, but maybe the easiest road to the Elite Eight, but even the
Yeah.
Final Four, like you think? I mean, because Michigan State, Duke, those are pretty tough
Yeah,
opponents
but-
right there. But to the Elite Eight, I would totally agree with
Because
you.
if KU gets out of the region, I mean, obviously they wouldn't play both Michigan State and Duke. That's impossible.
Sure,
but
sure.
You beat a region with Bagley and Carter, Jackson, and Bridges are both gonna be. Those 4 guys are gonna be top 10 picks. Gary Trent might be a lotto. Duval or however you pronounce his name, will be a late first rounder. Grayson Allen might be a late first rounder.
Yeah.
And then Cassius Winston might be a first rounder if he wanted to go. Like, that's a lot of first round guys. And KU doesn't have anybody that's going to be a first rounder this year. So, in terms of talent level, getting out of this region, I think would be one of KU's more impressive runs. However, you don't have to play all those guys. You just have to play one team. And if you get out of, I think Dirk, you mentioned it, if KU can get out of this weekend, next weekend, I think either whoever wins out of the Clemson, New Mexico State, Auburn, College of Charleston group, I think KU, I feel more comfortable in that game, which will probably jinx me, so, just whatever. But and then get to the Elite Eight, who knows?
So I think Duke and Michigan State will kind of beat up on each other, but I still think Duke is going to make it to the Final Four.
Sure.
So 3 Blue Devils and just this is.
In a Michigan State.
Why did we end on this one?
Well,
You set that up.
To me, it's the most interesting region.
Yeah.
Heavy hitter wise, you know what I mean. There's some intriguing matchups other places, but heavy hitter wise, this is the one that you're looking at.
Lottery picks, and your number 1 seed isn't even the favorite.
Well, and just
Yeah.
name recognition.
Yeah.
Kansas, Michigan
Duke.
State, Duke. That could be a final.
3 of the
you know.
Champions Classic teams.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
And
very good
sometimes
point.
you just gotta pick the teams you hate. So if they win,
True.
you get the points. But if they lose, you're like,
So are you breaking out your Marcus Foster jersey?
that's why I picked Creighton.
Very
So
good.
who do you guys think is going to take home the crown?
I actually think it's going to be a Chapel Road championship.
Oh,
I think
back
it's-
to back.
I think it's going to be Duke, North Carolina, or no, Tobacco Road. I'm sorry.
Tobacco
I think it's
Road.
going to be a Tobacco Road championship, and I think Duke's going to take it.
Oh, okay.
I think they're going to get their revenge. Yep, that's what I got.
That'll be an awesome
All
game.
ACC
Yeah.
tournament for me.
Okay.
Go for it.
I have Arizona and Duke going in the final game, and I have Arizona winning it. I actually put down a score too. I put 83-82.
That'd be a good game.
Yeah, I feel like you said, Duke may not play. Both of these teams really don't play the greatest defense, so I feel like in that sense it's going to be kind of high scoring.
Good point.
And I feel like with DeAndre Ayton and Marvin Bagley going at each other, I feel like it's going to be a good game. That's who I've put down.
So I got Cincinnati and Villanova,
I love it.
and I'm already tired of watching Villanova win it. So I'm gonna pull for Cincinnati.
Wow.
National champions.
I like that.
And I think I think Nova has the coach, the NBA guys, but also the good college players, and they have enough experience from the last time they made a run and all that stuff. I think they're just tough, and
Yeah.
with Virginia losing that edge and toughness because they lose a little bit of star power and depth, I have Nova going all the way. Beating, I think I had Arizona. I think I had beat them Arizona.
And we just haven't mentioned Mikal Bridges. He's a monster.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
He's awesome. He's what you want from a college experience. He's I think a 4-year guy. He redshirted his first year. He's that's what college is all about. Becoming a champion.
You're exactly right.
So that's it for the basketball show. Again, Logan Mantz, Matt Dick, Zach Mitchell, Mr. Dirk Andrews, and we'll say it goodbye from the basketball show. The Cavs should draft Mikal Bridges.
Draft Dirk Andrews. Yo. I do that Ric Flair woo.
Woo!